In this video, we're going to look at a few different tools that we can use in Revit to help us carry out the calculations for working out the floor areas of the building. So floor areas are required when you're doing a set of working drawings to look at the overall size of the building, the total of the floor areas over different levels, and also to calculate the footprint of the building on the site, because the certifier needs to see that we haven't gone over the maximum footprint area that is allowed in our city plan. But for this, we're just going to keep this quite simply to the areas of the building. So we're going to look at the total living area of the building, that is the livable area within the walls. We're going to work out the area of the porch at the front and work out the area of the carport. And that's kind of how those areas are usually broken up into when you're doing a set of working drawings. So the very, very easiest way to do this is to just simply use filled regions. So what you would do is you would go to your Annotate tab, you would click on Region and then Filled Region. It doesn't matter what region type you use because you're not going to keep it. This is just simply to work out some calculations. And then you go over into your Draw tab, you use the Pick Line tool so that we know we're being accurate. And then we just zoom in and we work our way around the outside external walls of the building. So we just click on these walls here. We're just doing the outside of our filled region area. There we go, it's all finished. Click on the green tick to end. So that's our filled region there in blue, and when you come over to the properties box, you can see that the total area is 93.271 meters squared. So that's the simplest way to work out the area. However, if you move a wall later on in the project, that filled region isn't going to move with the wall. It's simply a 2D object that we have drawn over the top to just work out that area calculation. So we'll delete that now and we'll look at a bit more of a complex solution that Revit has for working out areas, and that links it into the building so that if you move a wall later, then it will automatically update your areas with it. That does come with some pitfalls. It can come with some pitfalls, but let's just work our way through this now. So we've got our floor plan again. So we go up into the View tab, click on Plan Views, and then go down to the bottom and click on Area Plan. Now it gives us the option here to click Do Not Duplicate Existing Views, and what that means is if we already had an area plan done for this floor area, but we'd forgotten about it, then if we have that Do Not Duplicate Existing Views selected, then the floor level would not appear, and that would stop us from duplicating it, which is actually a good idea. So we've got that ticked. Floor level is still available. That shows us that we don't actually have any area plans already done. As to what type, just select gross building, because we're looking at the gross building areas. Highlight your floor level and click on OK. Now it comes up with this question. Do we want Revit to automatically create area boundary lines associated with the external walls and gross building area? We're going to click yes for now. Sometimes this can actually end up placing the boundary lines not quite where we want it, but for this simple project, I think this should work for us just fine. So click yes. All right, so what it's done now is it's duplicated that floor plan view that we were in before. So we're no longer over here in our floor plan views. If you scroll down through your project browser, you'll come to an area, to a heading called Area Plans. Click on the little plus sign there and you can see that this is highlighted. This is the view that we are now in. You can also see that the view range is a bit different to what we had in the view area. So this is showing a boundary, a site boundary, and some external landscaping and things like that because of the view range that we have. But that doesn't matter with this. It's just the view range that comes with the area plans. So you can see that there is a dark purple line that is going around the outside of our building. And that's identifying those external walls, and that's part of its automatically calculating the areas for us. Now we can see here in the middle of these purple lines, it has an area calculation for us. It's worked out that it's 93 meters squared. So that'll be because the setting somewhere has not got it going to decimal places. It's just got it rounding up to the nearest meter squared. And if you remember before when we did our field region, the total area that it showed was 92.271 meters squared, I think. So it has rounded it up to 93 in this automatic setting. So that gives us our floor area, our livable area within the external walls. And like I said, we need to also work out the area of our porch and of our carport. So we're going to now do those using a few additional tools that are part of this area plan. So if we go back to the Architecture tab, on this Architecture tab, we've got these couple of area tools here. So one says area, the other says area boundary, and the other one is area tag area. So the first thing that we're going to do is we've got to add in our boundaries for these additional spaces. So click on area boundary. And again, for accuracy, we're going to use our pick lines tool. And we're just going to hover over. So there we go. It won't allow us to hover over the edges of the slab. If we were to hover over these walls, it identifies those walls as items that we can use for working out areas. It doesn't recognize just simply open slabs. So to work out the areas automatically using this area plan, we're going to have to actually place the lines ourselves. So click on the line tool now, and we're going to start drawing in some lines. So click on the corner there, on the other corner. Click Escape just to leave those there, and then we'll place the remaining 3 lines. Make sure you use the snaps so that this stays very accurate. All right, so we have placed in these extra walls, these extra boundary lines, sorry. This is where now you can see a little bit of what I was starting to say, that Revit doesn't quite do exactly what we want it to do every time. So because Revit turned around and put down the external boundaries for us before, now that we've added a few boundary lines in, it has decided that it needs to move those boundary lines from being on the face of the external wall to the center of the external wall. Now, from an accuracy point of view and from a certifier's point of view, they're going to want to see those area measurements to the face of the external wall for the carport and for the porch. They're not going to want to see them to the middle of the wall. So to try and change this, to try and move it, it can create some problems. Let's have a look. No, see, it's going to keep it there. So the best way to deal with this is to simply delete that line, and then we will go back. We will select area boundary again, select our line, and then we will draw in that line over the top of the external face of the wall. And we're going to have to do that the same around the porch. So sometimes you may decide that it's actually not worth having Revit automatically put those lines in for you. You may decide that it's just easier for you to do it yourself from the beginning. So there we go. We've now put our area walls back in. So we still have our internal area here of the 93 meters squared. We can move that so we can see it. Now we're going to place our area measurements around in these 2 areas as well. So this is where we come to area. So in this process, you have to draw the external boundaries, and then you actually have to identify areas that you want to have calculated. So click on area. And we've already got our area plan, so we're just going to click on area down here. And you can see it's already highlighted in yellow, the area that it's already placed. Now you can also see that when I hover my mouse with the area tag there outside of a enclosed area, it says area not enclosed. So you can't place and calculate something that's not in an enclosed area that's got those purple boundary lines around it. So if I move my mouse now to inside the purple boundary area, you can see that it does automatically say area and 28 meters. We're going to turn around, we're going to do the same onto the porch, and that's another 1 meter. So now we have our areas. There, 3 of them are all identified. So let's just quickly label these so we understand what the 3 different areas are showing. So if we click on this main area, the first one that was there, we click on the word area, double click, and then we can type in living, or you may want to type in internal areas. Living is usually a pretty standard term that certifiers like to see. So click on the word area for the porch area, double click on it, type in porch, press enter, and then in the carport, double click on area again and type in carport. All right, so now we have our areas, and as you can see, you can pick up the tag and you can move it, but you must keep the tag within the boundaries. Okay, if we move it outside, it doesn't identify it. All right, so that's how we get our areas. Now, the other thing that this now allows us to do is to create an area schedule. So we've talked previously in Project 2 about doing a door and window schedule. So now we're going to add an area schedule to this. So to do our area schedule, we need to go to the View tab again up the top and into the Create panel. If you're sometimes you will have all of these icons all seen very easily. Other times they will be reduced depending on the size of your screen. So you will sometimes have to hover over just to see what some of these icons mean. So if we hover over this one here, we can see that it says schedules. So click on the arrow and we want it to do a schedule list for us. So click on schedules. And at some point during the process, it will also tell you to do a save, which I'm just going to let go at the moment. Okay, so the new schedule, it's going to give us a series of options as to what we want this schedule to be. So if we run quickly through, we can get to the end of the A's where it says area, gross building, and that sounds like the area plan that we did create. We created a gross building area plan, so click on OK. And now it's coming up and it's giving us the option of what different fields we want within our schedule. So we want the area to be shown, so we click on our green little arrow here, which will add our parameter over into the list of what is actually going to be in the schedule. We want the area type. If you're using a multi-story building, you would want to select the level as well. But we've only got a single story building here, so that's fine. And we can get the perimeter information if we want. And let's put in the name at the moment because I'm not quite remembering what the difference is between name and area type, so let's have a look. All right, so we can shuffle the order around in here. So I would suggest that we put the name first. Just move our little arrow up. And we would probably want our area to be second last and the perimeter. We can leave the perimeter there. The perimeter is really a measurement that the builders will use for their takeoffs. So we don't need it there. The certifier won't require it, but let's leave it there just for the moment. So you can see what it looks like, and then you can decide whether or not you want to keep the perimeter column in or not in your schedule. So we'll click OK. And there we have our schedules. So again, if we come over to our project browser, underneath schedules, we have this new one called Area Schedule Gross Building. So here's our name. Our names are the names that we gave to the different areas, living, carport, and porch. Our area type, it's a gross building area. So remember we had the option of choosing either gross building area or rentable area. That's where our area type has come in. So in that case, that column's probably not that vital. So if we want to remove that column, then all we simply do is come over into the properties box for the schedule. We go to Fields and click on Edit, and we're back at this box again. So we can select area type, and then in the same way as we use the green arrow to move from the available fields over into the actual fields, we use the red one to move that name back, that field name back into the available fields. So we click on OK to finish, and there we have our area schedule. It's showing the area names, the total of the area, and then the perimeter measurement in millimeters. Okay, so the last thing to look at is what that looks like when we put it onto a floor plan. So if we go back to our original floor level, original floor plan, I should say, and we're going to put a copy of that schedule just here in the corner. So you go back into your project browser now, click on area schedule. Don't double click like I did or it'll open back up and let you to rename it. So click on area schedule and then click and drag, and we can drag it over. No, I've made a mistake there. As you just saw, it won't let you click and drag into a view. It will only do it on drawing sheets. So let's go down to our floor level drawing sheet. So here we already have our floor plan placed, our floor level plan. First thing I am going to do, however, is just quickly fix this, because as we know, every floor plan should have the word plan in the name. So let's just highlight the view and then click on the name. We're going to delete level and we're going to put in floor plan. Press enter. It will ask us if we want to rename the corresponding level and any views that are associated with it. We don't want to do that. We just want it to change on this view. So we click no. And there we've renamed our view. Okay, so now we're going to get this area plan on, area schedule. So click on the area schedule in your project browser and click and drag, and it will come over and you can place it now on your drawing sheet. So if we zoom in on that now, we can see our area schedule there with the names of the areas that we've worked out the sizes for, and the total area and the perimeter. There's one thing that's missing though, is that we don't have a total for this area, for the building. And we do need that total so that we can do our footprint. So we can make sure that the footprint of the building isn't bigger than the maximum size that is allowed by our city plan. So to do that, we're going to click on our area schedule. Actually, no, it's going to be easier to go back into our area schedule over here. So open up your area schedule in your project browser. And we're going to go and we are going to look at our filter. So we're just going to quickly look at the filter tab first, just so I can explain what that is for. So this will be what you use when you have a two-story building and you want to only have the areas that pertain to that particular level in your area schedule. So this is where we would have a column or a field that says level, and you would filter by that level. But because we've got a single story building, we don't need to do that here. So we're going to leave that alone, and we're going to go to sorting grouping. So we're going to click on this, we're going to sort by, we're going to tell it to sort by the name, and it's just going to put the names in alphabetical order. It just keeps it nice and simple. But the other thing that we're going to add here is we're going to click Grand Totals. So this gives us some options now as to what we want for the grand totals. Do we want it to have a title for the grand totals, count how many areas it is that it's adding up and put in the totals, or there's a few different options there. So let's have a look at what these look like. So we will click on Title, Count and Totals first, and we will leave this Itemize Every Instance ticked for the moment. I think we're going to find that that's not quite how we want it to be, but I want you to have a look at what it looks like. So let's click OK. Okay, so now we can see that we have in our area schedule a grand total of 3, and we have the carport, living and porch all in alphabetical order. So what that looks like on our floor plan, now that it's adjusted, is just this grand total of 3. So that hasn't quite given us what we want it to look like. So by ticking itemize every instance, it hasn't given us the total overall, it's just left us with these totals of each instance. So back in our area schedule, we're going to have a look at a few more of these settings so that we can work out what's happening here with our area. So if we click on sorting and grouping, we have it sorted correctly. We are telling it to give us our grand totals, our title count and totals, and itemize every instance. That doesn't seem to have made any difference to anything at the moment, so let's leave that ticked. So we'll go and click on the Formatting tab. In the Formatting tab, this puts in a pile of parameters around what happens in each of these fields. So click on Area, and you'll see down here it says no calculation. Well, we want it to do a calculation on the area total. So drop down the arrow next to no calculation, and let's just click on Calculate Totals. All right, if we click OK, now you can see we have our total area calculation coming up. So it's up to you whether you want to leave this 3 here for the number of areas. Personally, I wouldn't, so I would go back and I would click on Sort and Group and drop down the menu and leave it at Title and Totals. Click OK. So now we have here our carport area is 28 metres squared, living area is 93, porch is 1, with a grand total of 123 metres squared. If we want to get a total for the perimeter, we can also do that, but that won't actually mean anything to anybody. This is more used for the builders when they are doing their takeoffs. So for the purpose of town planning, let's remove this column now. We've decided we don't need it. So we're going to come back in. We're going to select perimeter, use our remove parameter, click OK, and now we have our area schedule finished. If we have a look at our floor level plan again, this is now what that looks like. If you find that this text is too big or it isn't what you want, there is one last setting to have a very quick look at so that we can see how to adjust that. So if we go back into our area schedule, and that comes down to appearance here. So back into the properties box, and we click on Edit next to Appearance. And this is where you can start to change what the different texts are for the different titles, the header text, and the body text. I'm going to leave you to have a play with that if you want. Personally, I would change the body to a 2 mil high text. I would change the header text to maybe 3 mil, and the title text would be nice at a 5 mil. So let's just have a quick look at that. Click OK. So it doesn't change too much here, but where we will see it is when we get to our floor level plan, and we will just have to change some things here. You'll just have to stretch it out so we can see, or we can simply change the name of that area schedule, get rid of the gross building, just leave it as area schedule there, go back into our floor level, and there we go. It now fits neatly. We can just shrink that back down. So that's just simply by picking these little purple grips, and we can move the columns and adjust their widths. All right, so I like that. I like the 2 mil high text for the general information, the 3 mil high for these titles here, and the 5 mil high for the overall name of the schedule. And there you have how to create area schedules quite simply using Revit.